The blue-white light of the transport beam faded around Jack Nelson as he materialized on the arrival platform. His stomach churned from the journey. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the slightly sweet air of the Velexi homeworld. This was it. After 6 months of training, he was the first human to set foot on this planet. Jack adjusted his diplomatic uniform and looked up. His breath caught in his throat. Crystal towers stretched into the sky, catching the light of 3 distant suns. The building seemed alive, pulsing with soft blue energy that flowed through transparent veins in the structures. "Human Nelson, welcome to Velexi Prime." The voice came from a tall figure stepping toward him. Like all Velexi, she stood nearly 7 feet tall with an iridescent exoskeleton that shifted colors as she moved. Her 4 arms were folded in a formal greeting position. "I am Neva, first assistant to the royal court. The Queen awaits your presence." Jack nodded, trying to remember his training. "Thank you for the welcome. I'm honored to represent Earth." In this exchange, the journey through the city left Jack speechless. Velexi moved with grace, despite their size, their bodies shimmering under the alien suns. He noticed how other Velexi stopped to watch him pass. Their compound eyes tracked his movements with what he guessed was curiosity, or perhaps disgust. "They have never seen a human before," Neva explained, noticing his discomfort. "Your soft skin and limited limbs are unusual to us." Jack smiled. "On Earth, your beautiful exoskeletons would be equally fascinating." Neva's head tilted in what Jack recognized as the Velexi equivalent of surprise. "You find our forms beautiful?" "Very much so," Jack said honestly. The royal palace rose before them, a massive structure that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Guards with ceremonial spears stood at attention, their exoskeletons enhanced with metallic plates that glinted in the sunlight. Inside, Jack was led through corridors that grew increasingly ornate. The walls themselves contained moving patterns of light that responded to their presence. Jack's scientific mind raced with questions about the technology, but he remained silent. He was here as a diplomat first, scientist second. The throne room doors opened silently. Jack stepped into a vast chamber where light played through crystal formations, creating rainbows across the floor. At the far end, seated on an elevated platform, was Queen Zara Vex. Jack had studied images of the Velexi Queen, but they failed to capture her presence. Unlike the dark blues and greens of other Velexi, her exoskeleton shimmered with gold and purple hues. A delicate crown of living crystal grew directly from her head, marking her royal status. She was younger than he expected, having taken the throne only 2 years ago after her mother's unexpected death. "Jack Nelson of Earth." Her voice echoed through the chamber as she rose to her full height. "We have waited many cycles to meet." "You're kind." Jack bowed as he had been instructed. "Queen Zara Vex, I bring greetings from Earth. We are grateful for this opportunity to learn from each other." The Queen descended from her platform with fluid movements. The court attendants tensed as she approached Jack directly, breaking protocol. She circled him slowly, her compound eyes taking in every detail. "You are smaller than I imagined," she said, a musical quality to her voice that the translator couldn't quite capture. "Most humans are actually taller than me," Jack admitted with a smile. "I was chosen for my knowledge, not my height." Something like a laugh escaped the Queen. The sound made the court attendants shift uncomfortably. "I see humans use humor as freely as reported. Fascinating." She gestured toward a side door. "Walk with me, Human Nelson. The formal reception will be tonight. Now, I wish to speak with you directly." The royal advisors began to protest, but a single gesture from the Queen silenced them. Jack followed her through gardens where plants moved with apparent intelligence, reaching toward them as they passed. "Your world is amazing," Jack said, unable to contain his scientific curiosity. "These plants seem almost conscious." "They are," the Queen replied, "though not in the way you or I are. They share a network beneath the soil. What one experiences, all experience." Jack stopped to examine a flower that changed color as his shadow fell across it. "That's similar to some fungal networks on Earth, but not nearly this advanced." The Queen watched him with interest. "You were selected because you study life forms, correct?" "Yes, I'm a xenobiologist. I study how life evolves on different worlds." "And what do you see when you look at me, xenobiologist?" The Queen's question was direct, her compound eyes fixed on his face. Jack considered carefully. "I see a highly evolved species with remarkable adaptations. Your exoskeleton provides protection while still allowing for expression through color. Your 4 arms offer functional advantages. Your compound eyes likely perceive spectrums of light invisible to me." He paused. "But mostly, I see an intelligent being hoping for the same thing we are, to understand our place in this vast universe." The Queen was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter. "The others said we should study humans from a distance. That direct contact would be ... problematic, but I insisted. Do you know why, Jack Nelson?" Jack shook his head. "Because your message broadcasts showed me something I had never seen before. Human bonds. Your connections to each other. The way you touch, express emotions, protect your young. It is very different from the Lexi society." She turned away, looking out over the Crystal City. "We have much to learn from each other, I think." Over the next weeks, Jack fell into a routine. Mornings were filled with formal meetings where Earth's ambassador led discussions about trade and technology exchange. Afternoons were dedicated to scientific cooperation, where Jack worked with Velexi biologists, sharing knowledge about Earth's ecosystems. But the evenings, those belonged to the Queen. Their conversations started formally, but soon grew more personal. Jack told her about growing up in rural Ohio, about his parents' farm, about his decision to study alien life forms. The Queen shared stories of her own youth, raised in isolation as the next ruler, trained from birth for a role she never chose. "Do humans choose their leaders?" she asked one evening as they walked through the palace observatory, the unfamiliar stars right above them. "In most places, yes. We vote for them," Jack explained. "And if they perform poorly, we vote for someone else next time. Or sometimes they're removed if they break serious rules." The Queen's exoskeleton flickered with dark colors that Jack had learned indicated deep thought. "On Velexi, the Queen is chosen by genetics alone. My bloodline has ruled for 10,000 years. That provides stability," Jack offered. "Perhaps too much stability." She turned to him suddenly. "Would you like to see something few non-Velexi have ever witnessed?" Jack nodded, curious. She led him deeper into the palace, past guards who lowered their eyes as she passed. They entered a secure laboratory where Velexi scientists worked over glowing specimens. The scientists froze when the Queen entered, then hurriedly bowed and departed. "This is why I requested you specifically, Jack Nelson." She gestured to the specimens. "Our species is dying." Jack moved closer to examine what appeared to be embryonic Velexi preserved in transparent cases. Even to his untrained eye, he could see malformations in their developing exoskeletons. "Genetic collapse?" he asked quietly. "Yes, for generations. We selectively bred for what we considered perfection. Now we face the consequences. Each generation, fewer viable offspring are born." Her colors darkened to a deep blue, especially in the royal line. Jack looked up at her, suddenly understanding the weight she carried. "And you hoped human genetic diversity might offer solutions?" "Yes. For the first time, The Queen's composure faltered. "The Council does not know I've shared this with you. They would see it as weakness." Jack reached out instinctively, then stopped, remembering cultural barriers. But the Queen surprised him by extending one of her 4 hands. Cautiously, Jack placed his palm against hers. Her exoskeleton was warm and vibrated slightly with what he guessed was her equivalent of a heartbeat. "I will help however I can," he promised. From a shadowed doorway, one of the royal advisors watched the human, and the Queen with narrowed compound eyes. This closeness was dangerous. The Council would need to be informed. The Royal Laboratory became Jack's second home over the next month. He spent hours comparing human and Velengzi genetic samples, searching for answers to the reproductive crisis. Queen Zara visited daily, often dismissing her attendants to speak with him alone. "These genetic markers here," Jack pointed to a glowing display. "They show where your ancestors modified your DNA to enhance intelligence and physical traits." Zara leaned closer, her iridescent exoskeleton reflecting blue light across the lab equipment. "Our histories say the early queens shaped our species. To survive the Great Drought, we thought they made us stronger." "They did, in many ways," Jack said gently. "But they also reduced your genetic diversity. It's like..." He searched for a simple comparison. "Imagine you have 100 different types of seeds. If you only plant the 10 biggest ones each season, eventually all your plants will be nearly identical. That seems good until a new disease comes that affects exactly that type of plant. And we have been planting only the biggest seeds for thousands of years." Zara finished. Jack nodded, especially in the royal line. The Queen's colors shifted to a deep purple that Jack had learned indicated sadness. "I am the last of my direct bloodline. If I cannot produce an heir, 10,000 years of history ends with me." Jack worked late into the night after these conversations, driven by the Queen's quiet desperation. 3 weeks into his research, he made a breakthrough. He was comparing the reproductive genetics of both species when he noticed something unusual. A particular sequence in human DNA seemed to activate dormant genes in the Velengzi royal samples. He ran the simulation again, adjusting parameters. The results were the same. Jack was so absorbed in his work that he didn't notice the Queen enter the lab. She moved silently despite her size, a trait of her predator ancestors. "You found something," she said, making him jump. "Maybe." Jack showed her the simulations. "This human genetic sequence seems compatible with your royal DNA in a way I wouldn't have thought possible. It's activating genes that have been dormant in your species for generations." "What does this mean?" Zara asked, her compound eyes fixed on the display. "It means there might be a solution. If we could introduce these human genetic elements into your royal line, it could restore the reproductive viability that's been lost." Jack ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit. "But the process would be complicated, and we'd need to run many more tests." The Queen was quiet for a long moment. "How would this introduction occur?" Jack explained the scientific processes. "That might work, involving genetic splicing and artificial gestation." The Queen listened carefully, her colors shifting with each new piece of information. "Your solution would take years to implement," she finally said. "Years we may not have. The Council grows impatient for an heir." Jack nodded, understanding her concern. Science takes time, especially when working with something this important. Before the Queen could respond, the lab door slid open. General Krosvex entered with 4 royal guards. His dark green exoskeleton was adorned with military markings, and his posture radiated disapproval. "Your Majesty," he bowed stiffly, "the High Council requests your presence immediately." Zara's colors flashed with irritation. "I am engaged in important research, General. Research that should be conducted by Velengzi scientists, not an outsider. Kraz looked at Jack with undisguised contempt. The Council has questions about the humans' unusual access to our genetic database. Jack felt a chill run through him. He had been so focused on helping the Queen that he hadn't considered how others might view their work. I invited him to study our genetics, the Queen said firmly. He has made progress our scientists could not. So you claim. The General's tone bordered on insubordination. Nevertheless, the Council awaits. The Queen turned to Jack. Continue your work. I will handle the Council. After she left with the General, Jack tried to focus on his research, but worry gnawed at him. The political situation was more complicated than he had realized. Earth's ambassador had warned him to avoid Velexi internal politics, but he was now deeply involved in their most sensitive issue. Hours passed. Jack expected the Queen to return, but instead, a junior scientist named Kel entered the lab. Unlike other Velexi, Kel had shown Jack friendship rather than cold tolerance. You should return to your quarters, Kel said quietly. The Council meeting continues, but rumors are spreading. What rumors? Jack asked. Kel's colors shifted nervously. That you and the Queen have grown too close. That your research is a cover for something else. That's ridiculous, Jack protested. We're trying to save your species. I believe you, Kel said, but General Kraz and his supporters see human involvement as weakness. They believe the Velexi should solve their own problems. Jack gathered his research materials. Even if it means extinction? Pride has ended many species across the galaxy, Kel replied sadly. The next morning, Jack was summoned to the throne room. The full council was present, their exoskeletons displaying formal colors. The Queen sat on her throne, her posture rigid. Human Nelson, the eldest counselor, addressed him. We have reviewed your work in our genetics laboratory. Jack stood, straight, trying to project confidence. I hope you found my research helpful. Your methods are unorthodox, the counselor continued. The Council has decided that Velexi scientists will continue this work without foreign assistance. Jack looked at the Queen, but her expression was unreadable. With respect, my research is at a critical stage. Transferring it now could set progress back by months. General Kraz stepped forward. We are grateful for your initial work, but this is a Velexi matter. The Queen has agreed that you will return to your diplomatic duties. Jack felt as if the floor had dropped beneath him. He had been removed from the project, and apparently the Queen had approved it. As the meeting ended, Jack tried to approach Zara, but guards stepped between them. The message was clear. Their private conversations were over. For 3 days, Jack was confined to the diplomatic quarters. Earth's ambassador told him to forget the genetics project and focus on the trade negotiations. But Jack couldn't forget the desperation in the Queen's eyes or the promise he had made to help. On the 4th night, a soft chime woke him from restless sleep. His door slid open, revealing a hooded figure. For a moment, Jack thought he was dreaming. The figure stepped into the room and lowered its hood. Queen Zara stood before him, without her crown or royal markings. Jack Nelson, she whispered, her color shifting with emotion. I need your help. How did you get here? Jack asked, stunned to see the Queen in his quarters. There are passages in this palace known only to the royal line. Her colors pulsed with urgency. The Council has forbidden me from seeing you, but they don't understand what's at stake. Jack gestured for her to sit. What happened? General Kraz convinced the Council that human interference threatens our culture. They've ordered all your research destroyed. Her colors darkened. They would rather maintain our genetic purity, even if it means our end. Jack felt anger rise within him. We were close to a solution. I know. The Queen moved closer. I saved your research data. and I have a proposal." She explained that in 2 days, Jack would be sent back to Earth as the Council terminated the genetic research project. Once he left, any chance of saving the Valexi royal line would leave with him. "What can we do with just 2 days?" Jack asked. The Queen's colors shifted to a deep red he had never seen before. "There is another way to introduce human genetic material into the royal line, a way our ancestors used before technology advanced." Jack's eyes widened as he understood her meaning. "You can't be serious." "I am Queen," she said simply. "The future of my species rests with me." "I've studied your research, Jack. The compatibility exists." "It could work. It could also fail completely," Jack protested, "or be dangerous for you. I face extinction either way." Her colors swirled with determination. "At least this way, we choose our fate rather than accepting it." Jack paced the room, his mind racing through implications, risks, ethics. What she proposed would change both their lives forever. "If anyone discovered what we'd done, double quotes," he began, "they won't. Not until it's too late to undo." Her compound eyes fixed on his. "I am not ordering you, Jack Nelson. I am asking you. Help me save my people." Jack looked at the alien Queen, so different from him in form, yet so similar in her determination and hope. In that moment, the distance between their worlds seemed to vanish. "I'll help you," he said softly. The Queen's colors shifted to a brilliant gold that lit the darkened room. "Then we begin tonight." Morning light filtered through the crystal walls of Jack's quarters as he finished packing his few belongings. Today he would return to Earth. The official reason, the completion of his diplomatic assignment. The truth was far more complex. Last night had changed everything. The memory of the Queen's visit felt like a dream, but the genetic sample she had taken from him was very real. Jack had expected their encounter to be clinical, scientific. Instead, it had been surprisingly intimate. The Queen had explained the Valexi mating process, so different from human reproduction, yet serving the same purpose. She had collected what she needed with a specialized royal organ evolved for genetic transfer. Now Jack stood at the spaceport with Earth's ambassador, Greg Miller, who knew nothing of Jack's secret arrangement with the Queen. "Shame about the genetics project," Greg said as they waited for the transport beam to activate. "The higher-ups back home were excited about your progress." Jack nodded, his mind elsewhere. "Sometimes politics gets in the way of science." "Well, you've done good. Work here regardless." First human to spend significant time with their Queen. That's going in the history books. If only you knew, Jack thought. The royal shuttle arrived, surprising both men. Queen Zara emerged, surrounded by her guards. The spaceport workers immediately bowed. "I wish to say farewell personally," the Queen announced. Her colors were formal blues and greens, betraying none of the intimacy they had shared. Ambassador Miller bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, this is an unexpected honor." The Queen approached Jack. "Human Nelson, your service to the Valexi will be remembered." Jack bowed as protocol required. "It was my honor to learn from your people, Your Majesty." For a brief moment, as their eyes met, the Queen's colors flickered to the gold he had seen the night before. Then she turned and departed with her entourage. "Wow," the ambassador whispered. "A royal send-off." "Whatever you did, Nelson, you made quite an impression." 3 months passed on Earth. Jack returned to his research position at the Global Xenobiology Institute in Arizona. He tried to focus on new projects, but his mind constantly drifted to the Valexi homeworld and to Queen Zara. Had their plan worked? Would he ever know? Jack was reviewing microscope images late one night when his secure communication pad chimed. The signal originated from the Valexi system, but used an unfamiliar code. His heart raced as he accepted the transmission. A Valexi face appeared, but not the Queen's. It was Kel, the junior scientist who had warned him before the council intervened. Jack Nelson. Kel's voice was hushed. This transmission is unauthorized. I speak to you at great risk. What's happened? Jack asked, dread filling his stomach. Kel's colors shifted nervously. The Queen is with Egg. The first royal pregnancy in 3 generations. Jack sat down hard, his legs suddenly weak. It worked? Yes, but there are complications. Kel glanced over his shoulder. The egg sac shows unusual patterns. The royal. Physicians have never seen anything like it. Some suspect. Outside influence. How is she? Jack asked. The Queen is healthy, but confined to her chambers. General Kraz has effectively taken control of the government, claiming to act in her best interest during this delicate time. Kel's colors darkened. Those loyal to the Queen believe he plans to declare the offspring non-viable and seize the throne. I have to come back, Jack said immediately. That is why I contact you. The Queen managed to send a message. Kel's image was replaced by Queen Zara's face. Her colors were muted, her compound eyes dull with fatigue. Jack Nelson, her voice was soft. Our experiment succeeded beyond expectation. I carry life within me, life that combines our species, in ways my scientists cannot understand. But I am a prisoner in my own palace. General Kraz fears what this child represents. He will not allow a hybrid to rule the Velexi. Her colors brightened briefly. Return if you can. I have allies who will help you. The fate of 2 worlds may depend on it. The message ended, returning to Kel's nervous face. I must go. A transport carrying Earth medical supplies arrives in 10 days, if you can be on it. The transmission cut off abruptly. Jack didn't sleep that night. By morning, he had made his decision. He contacted Earth's diplomatic corps with a carefully crafted story about being invited back to continue his research. To his surprise, they approved his return quickly. The Velexi had officially requested him, they said. Someone on the Queen's side still had enough influence to arrange this. The journey back to the Velexi, homeworld, took 16 days. Jack spent the time studying everything he could about Velexi reproduction and hybrid genetics. There was no precedent. For what he and the Queen had done, no roadmap to follow. When the ship arrived, Jack expected to be met by Kel, or another of the Queen's allies. Instead, General Kraz himself waited at the spaceport with a full military escort. Human Nelson. Kraz's tone was icy. Welcome back to Velexi Prime. Jack kept his expression neutral. Thank you, General. I'm eager to resume my research. Yes, your sudden invitation. Kraz's colors shifted to suspicious yellows. Quite unusual timing, given the Queen's condition. They traveled to the palace in tense silence. Jack was shown to new quarters far from the royal wing, clearly designed to keep him isolated. The room had no communication systems and only one entrance, guarded at all times. The Queen will summon you when she is ready, Kraz said before leaving. The door sealed with a heavy click. Jack was a prisoner, albeit in comfortable surroundings. He paced the room, searching for surveillance devices. Finding several, he left them untouched. Better to let them think he was unaware. 3 days passed with no word from the Queen or her allies. Jack was given meals and access to limited scientific data, but no visitors. On the 4th night, as he was beginning to despair, the wall beside his bed slid open silently. Kel stepped through the hidden passage. Quickly, he whispered. The guard rotation gives us 20 minutes. Jack followed Kel through narrow crystal corridors that glowed faintly, illuminating their path. How did you know about these passages? Jack asked. The Queen shared royal secrets with those she trusts. Her handmaiden, Vexley, showed me this route. Kel's colors were anxious blues and greens. General Kraz knows you've returned, but he doesn't know why. He suspects the Queen requested you, but cannot prove it. They emerged into a lavish chamber where two female Velexi waited. One was Vestli, the Queen's personal attendant. The other was Queen Zara herself. Jack gasped when he saw her. Her abdomen was swollen with a translucent egg sac containing a moving form. Her exoskeleton had parted at the middle to accommodate the growth, revealing a soft inner membrane that pulsed with life. "Jack," she said, her voice stronger than in her message. Her colors shifted to the warm gold he remembered. "Your Majesty?" He bowed out of habit. "I think we are beyond such formalities," she said with a sound like gentle laughter. She gestured for Vingshule to activate a device on the wall. A holographic image appeared in the center of the room, showing the developing life within the Queen's egg sac. Jack stepped closer, amazed. The embryo was clearly a mix of both species. It had the beginning of an exoskeleton, but not as rigid as a pure Velexi. Its limbs were more human in proportion, though there were 4 arms like its mother. Its head showed a blend of features from both worlds. "Our child grows stronger each day," the Queen said softly. "The royal physicians cannot explain it. Pure Velexi embryos have been failing for generations, yet this one thrives." "It's beautiful," Jack whispered, "and dangerous to those who fear." Change. The Queen's colors darkened. "General Kraz has called an emergency meeting of the High Council for tomorrow. He will demand an examination of the embryo by his own scientists. If they discover its hybrid nature, double quotes Jack began. They will declare it non-viable and remove it, she finished. I will be forced into genetic treatments of their design, or worse, replaced by a distant cousin whose loyalty Kraz has purchased. We won't let that happen, Jack said firmly. What's your plan? The Queen's colors brightened with determination. Tonight, we prepare our defense. Tomorrow, we face the Council together. It is time the Velexi learned the truth about their future. Jack barely slept that night. He and Queen Zara worked until dawn preparing their case for the High Council. Vexley brought genetic charts and historical records showing the decline of the Velexi royal line. Kell gathered data from Jack's original research, proving the compatibility of human and Velexi DNA. The Queen herself compiled the ancient laws regarding royal succession and the duty of the monarch to ensure the survival of their species. The Council fears change, Zara explained as morning approached. For 10,000 years, we have valued purity above all else, but purity has become our weakness. Jack studied the genetic charts. The hybrid embryo shows none of the defects that have plagued pure Velexi offspring. Its cells are dividing perfectly. That is our strongest argument, the Queen agreed. Her color shifted to worried blues. But Kraz will appeal to tradition and pride. Many counselors will listen. Vexley approached with the Queen's formal attire. It is time, Your Majesty. The Queen rose, her egg sac glowing softly beneath her exoskeleton. Jack marveled at how she maintained her grace despite her condition. Jack Nelson will accompany me to the council, she announced. As the father of my child, he has that right under the ancient laws. Vexley's compound eyes widened, but she bowed, without comment. Even in these extreme circumstances, no one questioned the Queen's knowledge of royal law. Guards escorted them to the council chamber. Jack walked beside the Queen, conscious of the stares from Velexi they passed. News of the Queen's pregnancy had spread throughout the palace, but few knew the full truth. The High Council chamber was a vast room with 12 crystal seats arranged in a semicircle. General Kraz stood at the center, his exoskeleton polished to an intimidating shine. The counselors murmured in surprise when Jack entered with the Queen. Your Majesty, Kraz said, his tone barely respectful. The human researcher has no place in these proceedings. The Queen's colors flashed with authority. "He stays, by ancient right. Begin the council, General." Kraz's compound eyes narrowed, but he obeyed. "Honored counselors, we gather today to address a matter of grave importance. Our Queen carries the future of our species within her, yet refuses proper examination by qualified physicians." An elderly counselor leaned forward. "Is this true, Your Majesty?" "I have been examined daily." "By my royal physicians," the Queen replied calmly. "What General Kraz demands is invasive testing that could harm the embryo." "The General claims concern for your health," another counselor said. "The General claims many things." The Queen's colors darkened. His true concern is control. He fears what this child represents. Kraz stepped forward aggressively. "What I fear is deception. The timing of the human's return is suspicious. The unusual development of the embryo raises questions that must be answered." "What questions exactly?" Jack asked, speaking for the first time. All eyes turned to him. Kraz's colors shifted to angry reds. "The presumption of this alien. He dares speak in our sacred chamber." "He speaks with my permission," the Queen said firmly. "And his question is valid." "What questions trouble you, General?" Kraz hesitated. Trapped by his own words, "The embryo develops too quickly. Its pattern is unlike any royal offspring in our records." "Because it is stronger than any royal offspring in generations," the Queen replied. She activated the holographic projector, displaying the developing embryo for all to see. "My child grows healthy and strong, while pure Velexi embryos have failed. For 3 generations." The council chamber fell silent as the counselors studied the hologram. Jack could see the moment when understanding dawned on each alien face. The embryo was clearly not pure Velexi. "What have you done?" The eldest counselor whispered. The Queen stood tall, her colors bright with defiance. "I have ensured the survival of our royal line, of our species. By mixing with a human?" Kraz spat the word. "This is abomination." "This is adaptation," Jack countered, stepping forward with the genetic charts. "Your species faces extinction through genetic collapse." The Queen found a solution. Kraz turned to the council. "The human speaks of things he cannot understand. Our genetics are sacred, passed down from the first queens. This ... pollution cannot be allowed to continue." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some counselors shouted their agreement with Kraz, while others demanded to see the research. Data. Through it all, the Queen remained calm, her colors steady. Finally, she raised her 4 arms for silence. The room immediately quieted. "For 10,000 years, the queens of Velexi have made difficult choices to ensure our survival," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "When the Great Drought came, Queen Velsa ordered our genes modified to require less water. When the long winter covered our world, Queen Neva commanded changes to our exoskeletons to retain heat. Each time, there were those who resisted, who called it impurity." She looked directly at Kraz. "History remembers the queens who saved our people, not those who clung to tradition while facing extinction." An uneasy silence filled the chamber. Jack could sense the council wavering. Kraz sensed it too. His colors shifted to desperate yellows. "The Queen has been corrupted by human influence. I move for emergency powers to be granted to the military until this crisis is resolved." "You overstep, General," the eldest counselor warned, but Kraz had prepared for this moment. The doors burst open as armed soldiers flooded the chamber. "The Queen is unfit to rule," Kraz declared. "For the safety of our species, I assume temporary control of the government." The counselors rose in alarm as soldiers surrounded them. 2 guards moved toward the Queen, weapons ready. Jack stepped between them and Zara. "Don't do this, Kraz. Think about your people's future." "I think of nothing else," Kraz replied coldly. "Take them both." The human will be returned to Earth. The queen will receive proper medical treatment to remove the abomination she carries. No, Zara's colors flashed with fear and rage. For the first time, Jack saw the predator ancestry beneath her royal composure. Her lower arms curved protectively around her egg sac, while her upper arms extended toward Kraz, finger-like appendages splayed in threat. What happened next stunned everyone in the chamber. The embryo within the queen's egg sac began to glow, brightly, pulsing with blue-white light. The guards hesitated, their compound eyes fixed on the phenomenon. "What trick is this?" Kraz demanded, though his voice held uncertainty. "No trick," the queen said, looking down at her glowing abdomen with wonder. "The child responds to threat." A wave of energy spread from the queen, washing over everyone in the chamber. Jack felt a strange sensation in his mind, like a gentle touch. Around him, the Valexi froze in place, their colors shifting rapidly. "It's telepathic," Jack realized aloud. "The embryo is reaching out to them." The queen nodded slowly. A trait from the ancient queens, lost for thousands of years. The stories say the first queens could touch the minds of all Valexi, uniting our people. The glow faded gradually. The Valexi guards lowered their weapons, their postures confused. The counselors looked at each other, then at the queen, with new understanding in their compound eyes. Only Kraz seemed unaffected. "Trickery and deception," he shouted, drawing his own weapon. "I will not allow this." He lunged toward the queen, weapon aimed at her egg sac. Jack moved without thinking, throwing himself between them. Pain exploded in his shoulder as Kraz's weapon discharged. The last thing Jack saw before darkness took him was the queen's colors flaring with rage and the guards seizing General Kraz. Jack woke to the soft glow of crystal lights above him. His shoulder throbbed with dull pain. He turned his head slowly and saw Kel monitoring medical equipment beside his bed. "You are awake," Kel said, his color shifting to relieved greens. "The queen will be pleased." "How long was I out?" Jack asked, his voice rough. 3 days. The general's weapon caused significant damage. Kel helped Jack sit up. "You saved the queen's life, and the child's." Memory flooded back. "The coup. What happened after I was hit?" "The guards arrested General Kraz. The telepathic event from the royal embryo affected everyone in the chamber. It broke the general's influence over his soldiers." Kel's colors brightened. "The council has been in emergency session ever since, re-examining ancient texts about the first queens and their abilities." "And Zara? Is she safe?" "The queen is well. She has not left the palace, but she is no longer confined to her chambers." Kel adjusted Jack's bandages. "She visits you each day." As if summoned by his words, the door opened. Queen Zara entered, her colors glowing with warm golds and amber. Her egg sac had grown larger, the embryo inside more clearly defined. "Leave?" "U.S. Kel?" she said gently. The scientist bowed and departed. Zara moved to Jack's bedside, her compound eyes studying him intently. "You risked your life for us. I couldn't let him hurt you. Or our child." The words felt strange to say aloud. Our child. A human and an alien queen creating life together. "The council has reached a decision," she said, sitting carefully beside his bed. "They have recognized our child as the legitimate heir to the throne." Jack's eyes widened. "Really? What changed their minds?" "The telepathic ability displayed by the embryo. It's a trait from our most ancient queens, lost for millennia." Her colors shimmered with pride. "The council believes it proves the child carries the true royal essence, despite its mixed heritage." "And Kraz?" "Imprisoned, awaiting trial for treason." Her upper hands gestured dismissively. "His supporters have abandoned him. The tide has turned, Jack." Jack reached out to touch her lower arm. "I'm glad. for both of you. The Queen's colors shifted to a deep blue. There is more to discuss. The Council has questions about your role in the child's future. My role? Jack hadn't thought that far ahead. You are the father of the next Velexi ruler. The Council must determine your status. She hesitated. There is no precedent for this situation. Before Jack could respond, a sharp pain crossed the Queen's abdomen. Her colors flared with bright intensity. What's wrong? Jack asked, alarmed. The egg sac ... double, she gasped. It's time. Earlier than expected. Jack hit the medical alert button. Within moments, Kel rushed in with a team of Velexi physicians. They helped the Queen onto a specially designed birthing platform. The embryo develops faster than pure Velexi, one physician explained as they prepared. The hybrid nature has accelerated the process. Jack tried to stand, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. I should be with her. Kel helped him to the Queen's side. The birth of a royal offspring is normally a private ceremony, but these are not normal circumstances. The Queen's colors pulsed with pain and excitement as her egg sac began to glow. The physicians monitored vital signs but did not interfere. Velexi births were largely automatic processes. Jack remembered from his research. Stay with me, Zara. Sighed, gripping Jack's hand with surprising strength. For the next hour, Jack watched in amazement as the egg sac pulsed with increasing light. The membrane gradually thinned, becoming transparent enough to clearly see the child within. It moved actively, 4 limbs stretching against its confinement. The sac will rupture soon, the lead physician announced. The child appears fully, formed and healthy. With a final surge of light, the egg sac split open. Fluid cascaded onto the birthing platform as the physicians moved quickly to catch the emerging child. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he saw their daughter for the first time. She was smaller than a Velexi infant, but larger than a human newborn. Her skin shimmered with iridescent patterns, not a full exoskeleton, but tougher than human skin. She had 4 arms like her mother, but her face showed clear human features, mixed with Velexi characteristics. Her eyes, when they opened, were startlingly like Jack's. She's beautiful, he whispered. The Queen's colors shifted to radiant gold. She is perfect. The infant made no sound, but Jack felt a gentle touch in his mind. Around him, the Velexi physicians stepped back in surprise. The telepathic ability is already active, one said in awe. Stronger than the legends described. The Queen held out her arms, and the physicians placed the child against her chest. The baby immediately curled her 4 arms around her mother, her skin changing color to match the Queen's gold tones. What will you name her? Jack asked. The Queen looked thoughtful. In our tradition, she would take a name combining her parents. Lines, Zariox perhaps. Her color shifted with amusement. But I think she deserves a name that honors both her heritages. Lyra, Jack suggested. It means harmony in an ancient Earth language. Lyra, the Queen repeated, her alien mouth forming the human word carefully. Princess Lyra of Velexi. It is fitting. The door opened as the eldest counselor entered. He stopped, his color showing surprise at the scene before him. The royal heir is born, he said formally, bowing low. The council wishes to pay respects. The Queen nodded permission. 12 Velexi counselors filed into the room, each bowing before the newborn princess. Jack noticed their colors shifting in unison as they approached a response to the child's telepathic touch. The first queens used their mental gifts to unite our people, the eldest counselor explained to Jack. For thousands of years we have been divided by faction and status. Perhaps Princess Lyra will restore what was lost. Jack watched as each counselor touched a finger to the child's forehead in ritual greeting. Each one's colors brightened after contact. What happens now? Jack asked the queen quietly. Now we present our daughter to our people, she replied. And then we must decide your place in the royal household. Jack hadn't considered his future. On this alien world, I don't know anything about being royal. The queen's colors shifted to warm purples. Nor did I know anything about creating life with a human. We will learn together. 6 months later, Jack stood beside Queen Zara on the great balcony of the royal palace. Below them, thousands of Velexi gathered in the central plaza. Delegations from Earth stood among them, human diplomats witnessing this historic moment. Princess Lyra sat in Jack's arms, already the size of a human toddler. Her growth rate was another surprise of her hybrid nature. She wore a small version of her mother's royal markers, and her skin shifted colors constantly as she observed the crowd. Citizens of Velexi, the queen's voice carried across the plaza. I present to you Princess Lyra, heir to the throne and first of a new lineage. A wave of color rippled through the crowd as the Velexi changed their exoskeleton hues in ritual response. The humans in the crowd watched in amazement. Today, we also formalize the status of Jack Nelson, the queen continued. By unanimous vote of the High Council, he is named Royal Consort and Ambassador of Earth, with full rights of residence in the palace. Jack stepped forward, still holding their daughter. He had practiced the formal Velexi greeting for weeks. As he completed the ritual words, Lyra reached out with all 4 arms toward the crowd. A gentle mental touch washed over everyone present. Human and Velexi, alike a feeling of connection that transcended species. The crowd fell silent, then erupted in a display of changing colors and human applause. Jack looked at Queen Zara, whose colors shimmered with joy and pride. 2 worlds, she said softly, united in one child. Jack smiled at his alien family. What had begun as a scientific mission had become something no one could have predicted. As Princess Lyra's telepathic presence touched his mind again, he felt her understanding limited by her infancy, but growing rapidly. She knew she was special. She knew she was loved. And somehow, she already knew the importance of the bridge she formed between 2 species. The first of many bridges, I hope, Jack said, looking out at the mixed crowd of humans and Velexi. The queen's colors agreed. The beginning of a new galaxy.